There is a question that keeps serious people awake at night. Have we been here before? The answer is yes. And the last time we ignored the signs, 50 million people died. Let me take you through history, slowly, clearly, because what is happening right now in our world deserves to be understood. Not feared, understood. It began in 1914 in a small street in Sarajevo. A young man fired 2 shots at an archduke. Within 6 weeks, the entire world was at war. Not because one assassination caused a world war, but because the world had been building toward explosion for years. Competing empires, secret alliances, arms races, leaders too proud to step back. 20 million people died in 4 years. The world said, never again. 20 years later, it happened again. A failed painter from Austria rose to power on the back of economic humiliation, national pride, and the promise to make his country great once more. The world watched, the world negotiated, the world appeased. 85 million people died. 2 lessons from those 2 wars burned into history forever. First, unchecked aggression does not stop itself. Second, the world always thinks it has more time than it does. After 1945, the great powers tried something new. They pointed nuclear weapons at each other and called it peace. The Cold War lasted 40 years. The United States and the Soviet Union never fought directly, but they fought everywhere else. Korea, Vietnam, Angola, Afghanistan, Cuba. They used other nations as chess pieces, other people's sons as soldiers. Millions died in wars that were really about something else entirely, about which superpower would dominate the world. That competition never truly ended. It just went quiet for a while. Then came the interventions. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq. The justification was weapons of mass destruction. Those weapons did not exist. Saddam Hussein was removed, tried, and executed. But what came after was worse than what came before. The country collapsed into sectarian violence. A power vacuum opened. And from that vacuum crawled a movement called ISIS, which spread terror across 3 continents. The lesson Iraq taught the world: removing a dictator is easy. What comes next is where civilizations fail. 8 years later, Libya. Colonel Gaddafi had ruled for 40 years with an iron grip. When his people rose up during the Arab Spring, NATO intervened from the air. Gaddafi was captured and killed in the street. And then, nothing. No plan, no stability, no peace. Libya today is a shattered country controlled by competing warlords, with Russia, Turkey, and Gulf states all backing different factions, fighting a war most people have forgotten. Syria told the same story, but louder and longer. What began as peaceful protests in 2011 became one of the most catastrophic wars of the modern era. President Assad chose bullets over reform. Half the country fled. Russia intervened to save Assad. The United States backed rebel groups. Iran sent fighters. Turkey moved in from the north. Saudi Arabia funded opposition factions. By the time the world stopped counting, 600,000 people were dead. Syria was not just a civil war. Syria was a preview, a rehearsal for the kind of conflict where every major power picks a side and nobody wins. Yemen, a country most people cannot find on a map, a country suffering what the United Nations calls the worst humanitarian crisis on earth. Saudi Arabia and its allies bombing from the air. Iran supplying the Houthi rebels on the ground. Children dying of cholera and starvation while the bombs keep falling. And the connection to today, those same Houthi rebels, armed and emboldened by Iran, are now firing missiles at commercial ships in the Red Sea, disrupting global trade, pulling in American warships, escalating. Now, Iran. This is the thread that connects the Middle East's modern wars into one dangerous web. Iran does not fight its wars directly. Iran fights through others. It is called the axis of resistance, and it stretches from Tehran to Baghdad, to Damascus, to Beirut, to Sana'a. In Iraq, Iran backed militias that fought American forces for years after the invasion. When America left, Iran's influence filled the space. In Syria, Iran kept Assad alive. Iranian-backed fighters bled alongside Syrian soldiers while Russia bombed from above. In Lebanon, Iran built Hezbollah over 40 years into one of the most heavily armed non-state forces on earth. Hezbollah has more missiles than most national armies. In Yemen, Iran equipped and trained the Houthis, turning a local rebel movement into a regional military threat. And in Gaza, Iran funded, armed, and trained Hamas for years before the October 7th attack of 2023. That attack, the deadliest day for Jewish people since the Holocaust, triggered a war that has now killed over 50,000 Palestinians, devastated an entire territory, and brought the entire Middle East to the edge of open regional war. Israel and Hezbollah exchanged fire for months. American forces were attacked across Iraq and Syria. Iran fired ballistic missiles directly at Israel. Twice. Israel struck back inside Iranian territory. For the first time in modern history, Iran and Israel, two countries that had always fought through proxies, struck each other directly. That is not a small moment. That is a threshold crossed. And while the Middle East burns, look east. Ukraine. In February 2022, Vladimir Putin launched the largest land invasion in Europe since World War II. His stated goal, denazification. His real goal, reversing the humiliation of the Soviet collapse and returning Russia to empire. Ukraine did not fall in 3 days as Russia expected. It has been fighting for over 2 years. Hundreds of thousands dead on both sides. The United States and Europe have poured weapons, money, and intelligence into Ukraine. Russia has received drones from Iran and artillery shells from North Korea. China has not sent weapons, but has provided the economic lifeline that keeps Russia's war machine running. This is not simply one country invading another. This is the entire post-World War II international order cracking under the pressure. The rule that borders cannot be changed by force, the rule that has kept great powers from direct war for 80 years, is being tested every single day in Ukraine. And further east still, Taiwan. China considers Taiwan a province that must return to the motherland. Taiwan considers itself a sovereign democracy that will not be absorbed. The United States has spent decades selling Taiwan weapons and promising vague support. These three positions cannot coexist forever. Military analysts, not politicians, not journalists, military analysts who study force movements and supply chains and logistics, say the window of maximum danger for Taiwan is the next 5 years. Meanwhile, North Korea has tested intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach American cities. It has supplied Russia with weapons for use in Ukraine. Kim Jong-un has met with Putin in person. The lines between conflicts that once seemed separate are dissolving. Here is what the history of the last 100 years is trying to tell us. World War I was built on secret alliances. When one country fell, they all fell together. Today, the alliances are not secret. Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China are coordinating. Not always openly, not always formally, but coordinating. On the other side, the United States, NATO, Israel, South Korea, Japan, Australia, 2 blocks, competing interests, active flashpoints on 3 continents simultaneously. The world has not seen this configuration since 1939. There is one more thing history teaches us. The wars that kill the most people are rarely the ones anyone planned. They are the ones that slipped, decision by decision, miscalculation by miscalculation, past the point where anyone could stop them. The world is not at World War III today, but the conditions that have produced world wars before, great power rivalry, broken international rules, proxy conflicts bleeding into direct confrontation, nuclear states in active standoffs, global economics under pressure, every single one of those conditions is present right now. We are not watching history from a safe distance. We are inside it. The only question that remains, the same question every generation before a great catastrophe failed to answer in time, is this: are we paying attention?